Hey everyone, welcome back to Treehouse Garden. It's Kimberly here. It's the week after Mother's Day in May, and I thought I would give you a tour of my raised bed and my in-bed garden that I have growing fantastically right now. Thanks for joining me today at the Treehouse Garden. I stuffed my beds full. If you've been watching the journey, this has a lot of sunflowers. It actually has some broccoli, some onions around the edge, and up the panel is some snap peas. Hopefully I get a good harvest before it gets hot and these die off. Some more sunflowers right there, and some wildflowers. On the other side is I mimicked the same thing, so I've got onions, some sunflowers, some wildflowers. There is also some broccoli in there, one plant. We'll see if it will produce anything before it gets too hot. All right, let's continue the tour. In these ollie beds, I have some Swiss chard in the front. It can grow pretty well in the summer. Just keep it clipped, don't let it get too tall and lanky. More sunflowers, and I have Kentucky pole beans that are doing a fabulous job. They are growing up the trellis. I had some birds picking at them, so I put my little reflective thing that moves in the wind up here, and it seems to be helping. They were actually attacking my sunflowers more than anything. And then more Swiss chard, and then I have some leeks and some flowers called alyssum that I sprinkled in a couple weeks ago. All right, so this bed has some really pretty flowers. I got these from Grand's Garden Seeds. If you want to check her out, she's a little company. I love the customer service I get. You can use code Treehouse Garden and get 20% off. I have some eggplant in here, but check it out. Some little gnat-like bugs have been eating the leaves. I just sprayed them early this morning with some sriracha water. So I just put a whole bunch of sriracha in a bottle and spray it on the leaves. So hopefully they'll take a bite and say, "Ay caramba," and get the heck out of there. I've also got some pole beans on this side, some more sunflowers, and you'll see that the pole beans will grab onto the sunflowers. Sunflowers can be a good trellis for cucumbers and beans if you don't have a trellis, so consider that. And then on this side, more eggplant. Still, they're looking better, but they have a ton of bites on them. Poor babies. And then some more flowers. All right, this bed has some peppers, a little squash I'm going to try to train up the trellis, some calendula flowers, and then a whole bunch of cucumbers at the base that I'm going to train up the trellis. And then these are lemon spice jalapenos from Baker Creek. This bed's a little bit of an experiment because I did read that you can grow corn in raised beds. I don't know, might just be dramatic effect, so we'll see. I don't have a really good spot in the garden yet that's weed free to do a lot of corn. That is my goal for next year. But for this year, I sprinkled in some corn seeds, and then at the base I have a whole bunch of basil. Basil is so easy to grow from seed. You literally sprinkle it on the ground, water it in, you don't even cover it up. At the base of this trellis, I have some cucumbers. These are called party time cucumbers, and I'm going to train them to go up the trellis, and that's it for that bed. So I have two new ollie beds, a U bed and an L bed, and I haven't planted those yet. I was hoping to do a big strawberry patch in one, but I might try out the corn or just do a bunch of squash. So stay tuned for those beds, and they're new on Olle Gardens if you want to check them out. I do like that they're very easy to work, the space. You're not leaning over, it's very accessible. All right, these are my original ollie beds that I got. I do like this configuration. You can plant a lot of things. I have sunflowers in there. I have some squash, some peppers around the whole outside of the bed, onions, and things are growing fantastic. The second bed there were my no-dig potatoes that I just put the seed potatoes right on the dirt and covered them up with straw. As they have been growing, I just keep adding layers and layers of straw, and hopefully we'll have a pretty good potato harvest. The next bed has some basil. I did a little video on how to propagate basil. You want to check that out. I have some peppers, calendula, parsley, and some lemon balm at the base. And then at the top here with my homemade trellis that I made with a T-post and just some wire that I zip tied, I have a whole bunch of sugar snap peas. Once it gets really hot, these babies will die off, so hopefully, looks like I'm gonna have a really good harvest before I have to replant. Okay, this bed's kind of a work in progress. I had a bunch of spinach in here and I finally pulled it. I, again, have onions around the outside of the bed. I have some peppers in here, some carrots still remaining, some squash I'm gonna trail on the outside. These are some little peppers. Hopefully they make it. I had a hard time starting peppers this year. And more peppers and more squash and a little bit of purple basil. Okay, moving on to a wooden bed. This one's kind of a work in progress. I have some thyme. Sorry, my shadow's not helping there. This is a Long Island cheese squash. It's gonna get really big, so I'm gonna trail it outside the box. Some tarragon, which I love to make this dip that's with tarragon, lemon, sour cream, and mayonnaise and garlic. It's so delicious. And of course my violas. I got another pretty little bowl that I'm going to put a solar fountain in. Some onions, and these hopefully are going to be some really good shishito peppers. Alright, so this box has a lot of broccoli. I can see, ooh, I've got some bugs on there. It looks like kind of like little aphids, so I'll have to check that out, maybe spray these. But once it gets hot, this broccoli is going to bolt. And I see that since it's warmed up, I already have some little heads forming in there. And although they're not going to get much bigger, let's see if you can see it. They will do a lot of side shoots, and you can also juice the leaves, just like one in a juice because it's pretty strong. Super healthy for you. Some more viola, Johnny Jump Ups in there. Another broccoli, a little solar fountain. I love that so much. And I have a bunch of beets that should be ready pretty soon. I love to put the leaves in salads and also juice the leaves. And then some more sunflowers. I don't think I've showcased these beds yet, so I tried out the new Barn Red maybe it's called, from Olle Gardens, and these are the original size beds that I like. I like these beds because you can fit a lot in here. So I still need to put down my wood chips and all of that, the weed barrier, excuse me, but I haven't done that. But I did plant some baby watermelon in here that I got from Grand's Garden Seeds, and some flowers, also from Grand's Garden Seeds. Those are, what are they, zinnias. These are some snapdragons. One little lettuce holding on to be harvested before it gets too hot. This one I haven't fully planted, but I put some bitter melon on the outside. And then on the inside, I planted some, let's see, what did I plant? So, some Colorado red artichokes. So I put a couple along the back because those are going to get really big and they'll last a long time. This bed I put in, gosh, look at it. Darn it, I got a lot of weeds. But you can see, oh look, I planted some okra, and oh yay, they're popping up. Hi, little babies. So this is going to have some tomatillas. Those are tomatillas, some okra, and then what do I have on the last? Oh, okra. Okay, and then the last one there, I haven't really planted yet. All right, some more raised beds. Hope you're sticking with me. I feel like this is oops, my fingers are in the way, a really long video. Want to remind you, like half of this is from winter, like my broccoli, my lettuces, things like that. So it's kind of fading out the winter and replacing it with summer. So broccoli here, and it's hard to see, but I do have back here some snap peas. I kind of like it because they get a little shade and they're going up the trellis. Some cabbage trying to form heads. We'll see how that goes. Some peppers. Some flowers. What are these flowers? These are snapdragons. Sorry, that was hard to read. I did get a lot of advice from people on how to label things because Sharpies and special pens were fading. And it's true what everyone said, grease pencils, I got them on Amazon. They don't fade. So I'm switching to that method, and I just use cut up blinds like I have shown you in the past. This bed, I have some artichokes. I have 3. They're gonna stay there and be there a long time. A squash that I'm going to train up the cattle panel tunnel or handy panel. Some more peppers, some onions. This bed's not fully planted yet. Pepper, onions, some flowers, another squash, and then these are some cucumbers that again I'm going to, oh no, those aren't, those are Kajari melons. I got those also from Grand's Garden Seeds, and I'm going to trellis them up and grow them vertically. So we'll see how that goes. Next up, some more broccoli. I tucked in a new squash, some onions, peppers, a big squash. Again, I'm going to attempt to have it go up the tunnel, and then some beautiful flowers. All right, next up, I have some carrots in here, some more eggplant, which is still being eaten by those bugs. Oh, I gotta spray all of these. So some, let's see, what is this melon? Or this squash? Oh, that's the eggplant. Where's my tag for this guy? Black Hubbard. Oh, there's a big squash. We're gonna see how that goes, having it go up. If it doesn't work out going up, I'm gonna have it spill out the side. Some lettuce, but you can see I've been harvesting a lot of it because along the edge of the bed I planted some cucumbers to go up the trellis, no problem with that. So instead of just clipping the lettuce, I've been actually yanking it out. So that's my freckled lettuce. That's totally the wrong word, feckless. And then some more squash, Swiss chard, super easy to grow from seed. And then another squash, and that one is long white of Palmyra. So I bought a lot of really cool squash from Baker Creek that I'm trying out for the first time. I still am in love with this tunnel. I think I like tunnels because I love my Olle Garden arches. They're kind of hard to see from here. And I love my handy panel tunnel. This cost me, I think, $150. I think each panel was like $22 or $24, something like that. Got them at Tractor Supply and just screwed them to the bed. Super duper easy. This bed has more squash, different variety. It's called Geta Oxalman. Probably saying all these wrong. Again, some really strange varieties from Baker Creek. There's my chives, my cilantro. I'm just letting this part go to seed because I harvested a bunch of it to save for salsa, but I'm gonna let this go to seed to replant or to just use in cooking. And my arugula is finally going to seed. It took a while, but let me show you. So they get these little pods, and in the pod is where you'll find the seed. So I'll probably pull half of this out because I need some real estate here. I'm gonna leave some in there and let them dry so I can replant arugula. I grow arugula all year long. I'll put it underneath peppers or even squash plants, and they'll be shaded enough to grow. Okay, this one has my garlic along with another eggplant and another squash. Let's see what this squash is. Oh, that's a golden scallop. That will be easy to trail up the trellis. This is my spinach. Some of it's coming back that I had sprinkled in underneath the big stuff. I was gonna let that go to seed, but it's kind of flopping over, so we'll see. I'll keep an eye on this bed. Along the front of it though, I planted a whole bunch of Japanese cucumbers that I'm gonna grow up the trellis. Sounds like I'm gonna have a lot of cucumbers. And then here we have some Shasta daisies on the side, some dill, more squash plants, peppers, onions, oh, a big old beet that probably needs to be harvested. And then these are some wildflowers to attract the pollinators. Okay, whew, my last raised bed has some wildflowers, but you know, I don't know, they got really wet when we had that rain and they're not looking so good, so I might have to pull those. But you can see here is my asparagus babies. Those were ones I started from seed, some more onions, and then these were the crowns and they're flowering and they have seeds. It's a long wait. And I also put some strawberries in there because strawberries and asparagus are really good companion plants. Oh, I got my little owl too. Well, I had my owl. Got my owl here to, come on guys, stay. To scare off some of those little birds. And then my beautiful sunflower. Can't wait to see that one grow. All right, you saw all the prettiness. Now you can see all the chaos. So this was all grass, as was this area. And I tarped it and I weeded it, but I'm trying to do no dig and no till, so just kind of scraping lightly the surface. But I did do my traditional way of growing tomatoes, which is I zip tie cattle panels onto T-posts, and then I plant on both sides of the trellis. I weave the tomatoes inside and out as they grow. I also keep the bottom of the tomatoes super clean. So I don't like the leaves to touch the bottom. Gives better airflow, less disease, less bugs. And until my tomatoes get just a little bit bigger, I actually do pinch the flowers. I find I have a better production in the end if I let my tomatoes establish themselves. Amongst the tomatoes, I also have some tomatillas that I'm growing because I'm always having to stake those. So I thought, why not grow them like I do the tomatoes? So we'll see how they do. And then out there is another row of tomatoes. Out yonder is some sunflowers and a ton of weeds. And then along the outer skirts of this garden, I have some more potatoes growing. These were just potatoes that had sprouted in my pantry and I put them down. And in front of this, because I have a problem with moles, deer not so much because my beagles scare them away, but the perimeter of the garden is all planted with marigolds and onions and garlic. They don't like the smell, and they say if you do the garden perimeter-wise with these things, you shouldn't see any in the garden. So far, so good. Oh my gosh, look at all those weeds. That is why, although I do like planting my tomatoes in the ground and I hope to do potatoes again and a whole big patch of corn next year, that is why I do enjoy having my raised bed garden. I jam-pack those beds full of different things. I grow vertical to double my space, and it's just so much easier to maintain. And gosh darn it, it sure is pretty. Thanks for joining me today at the Treehouse Garden. It's not too late to start a garden. Start small, grow it every year. So much satisfaction. Thanks for joining me again, and don't forget to seed the day.